The War Council chamber fell silent as Commander Zyrax of the Krell Dominion unsealed the crystalline case. Inside, mounted on beds of violet silk, lay 12 blades that had carved his legend across a dozen star systems. "Behold," Zyrax announced, his 4 eyes gleaming with pride, "the finest weapons in the known galaxy." The assembled dignitaries leaned forward, representatives from the Aquilian Confederacy, the Methane Collective, even the enigmatic Void Dwellers. All had come to negotiate humanity's entry into the Galactic Council, and all understood that military prowess spoke louder than diplomacy. Evie Chen, the human delegation's military attaché, stood at the back of the observation deck beside Knox Mallory, the cultural liaison. She adjusted her tablet, preparing to take notes. Zyrax lifted the first blade, a curved weapon with a shimmering edge that seemed to cut the very light around it. "This is a Kraven scimitar, forged in the heart of a dying star. Its molecular edge can slice through titanium carbide armor as if it were gas." Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the crowd. Knox leaned toward Evie. "Impressive, right?" Evie squinted at the blade, then at her tablet. She pulled up an image, compared it, then suppressed a smile. "That's a bread knife," she whispered. Knox's eyebrows shot up. "What, a bread knife?" Serrated edge, curved for slicing through crusty loaves without crushing them. "My grandmother has one just like it," Zyrax continued, oblivious to the exchange. He placed the first blade down and lifted another, a heavy cleaver-like weapon with a rectangular blade. "The Executor's Cleaver of Mandros IV. With this, I personally defeated the champion of the blood arenas. One strike can sever limbs through exoskeleton armor." "Chef's knife," Evie muttered. 8-inch blade, probably German steel equivalent. "You use it for chopping vegetables." Knox bit his lip to keep from laughing. "You're kidding." "Dead serious. Look at the weight distribution. It's designed for repetitive chopping motions." The Krell commander was warming to his subject now, his voice booming across the chamber. "And this," he held up a long, thin blade with a pointed tip, "is an assassination blade from the shadow courts of Vex Prime. Its narrow profile slips between armor plates to find the vital organs beneath." "Boning knife," Evie said flatly. "For separating meat from bone. My brother uses one at his restaurant." Knox covered his mouth with his hand, shoulders shaking. Several nearby delegates glanced their way with irritation. Zyrax produced blade after blade, a Stellar Warrior's combat tanto that Evie identified as a Santoku knife. A dimensional cleaver that was clearly a Chinese vegetable cleaver, and what the commander called an infiltrator's precision blade, which Evie recognized immediately as a paring knife. Commander Zyrax, one of the Aquilian delegates, said, her translucent wings fluttering with genuine curiosity, "These weapons have seen combat? Indeed, each blade has tasted the blood of my enemies. This collection represents 30 cycles of warfare across the frontier worlds." Evie's eyes widened. She pulled up another screen on her tablet, cross-referencing Krell frontier conflicts with human exploration records. Her fingers flew across the display. "Knox," she whispered urgently, "the frontier worlds they've been fighting on. These are the agricultural colonies that went dark 15 years ago." Knox's smile faded. "The ones we lost contact with?" "Yes, the Krell must have encountered our colonists. Look at the timelines, they match perfectly. The implications settled over them like a heavy blanket. These weren't just kitchen implements that resembled human tools. These were human tools taken from colonies that had disappeared without a trace." Zyrax lifted his final blade, a massive rectangular weapon with a straight edge. "And this, my most prized possession, is the Titan's Edge. I claimed it from a fortified compound on the third moon of Kepler 442b. The defenders fought with unprecedented ferocity, but they fell before the might of the Krell." Evie's blood ran cold. Kepler 442b's third moon, that was New Tuscany, a farming colony of 20,000 souls. Her uncle had been stationed there. "That's a butcher's cleaver," she said, loud enough that nearby delegates turned to stare. Zyrax's 4 eyes fixed on her. "You dare mock the sacred blades of—" "They're kitchen knives," Evie interrupted, stepping forward. Knox grabbed her arm, but she shook him off. "Commander, those aren't weapons. They're cooking utensils from human colonies." The chamber erupted in confused chittering and whispers. "Impossible," Zyrax snarled. "These are clearly weapons of war. Only a warrior race would forge such." "We use them to make dinner," Evie said coldly. That assassination blade? It's for filleting fish. The executor's cleaver? For chopping onions. You've been carrying around a knife block from someone's kitchen and calling it a trophy collection. Knox pulled up holographic images from Earth's culinary archives, projecting them for all to see. Beside each of Zyrax's legendary weapons appeared an identical tool, complete with usage instructions and recipe suggestions. The Void Dweller delegate began to laugh, a sound like wind through broken glass. The humans make war with cooking implements? No, Evie said quietly, her gaze never leaving Zyrax. We make food with them, but apparently, when you attacked our colonies, our people grabbed whatever they could to defend themselves. Farmers and chefs fought your mighty warriors with whatever was in their kitchens. The silence that followed was deafening. Zyrax looked down at his collection, his mandibles trembling. But the compound on Kepler 442b held for 3 days against a full assault battalion. The defenders fought like demons. They were cooks and farmers, Evie said, parents and teachers. And you're telling me they held off your military for 3 days with cutlery? The Aquilian delegate's wings fluttered rapidly, their species equivalent of laughter. Perhaps, she said, the council should reconsider which species warrants concern. Knox stepped up beside Evie, his voice steady and diplomatic despite the tension. Commander Zyrax, we would like to discuss the fate of those colonies, and perhaps arrange for the return of those weapons to their rightful owners' families. Zyrax stared at the blades before him, the legendary collection that had defined his reputation. In the span of minutes, they had transformed from symbols of conquest to evidence of something far more terrifying, a species that could wage desperate warfare. With dinner knives and nearly win. Humanity, the Void Dweller delegate announced, is approved for council membership, unanimously. Evie allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes she thought the most human thing wasn't our weapons, it was what we could do without them.